Someday, I'll be living in a big old city, and all you'll ever be is mean. Those of you in the audience may not be T-Swift fans. Those of you in the audience may not even be country fans. And those of you in the audience may not understand the raw emotion, pain, reality, life, and truth these words hold. But for those of you who can, at the very least, understand that, you'll also be able to understand my biggest pet peeve. People. Specifically, mean people, and the mean things they do, for no sensible reason. Raise your hand if you've been bullied. Raise your hand if someone has ever tried to shut you down for being yourself. Raise your hand if someone has ever done anything mean to you. My point is made. Mean people affect everyone. It can be little or it can be big, the things mean people do, but they affect everyone. My mentor has described mean people into two categories or classes to me. First-class jerks and second-class jerks. Second-class jerks don't mean to be mean. They feel guilt for the mean things they do. They're essentially good people and human to their very core, hence why they can be mean on occasion. They can lie, cheat, and offend, but they feel bad and they try to make up for it. First-class jerks, on the other hand, mean everything they do. They put fervor into their hateful escapades and they never feel guilt or remorse. Their hearts are ice and their souls just as cold. They are sneaky, unobtrusive, and they are often manipulative in their mean doings. They do mean to be mean. And it's the first-class type of jerk that really makes me mad. They get under my skin and aggravate me more than hypocrites, spray bottles, freshman boys, the office, and small towns all rolled into one. First-class jerks don't think of others. They think of them, what is best for them, what directly benefits them. They're selfish. We're selfish because it is highly easy for us to become them, and that's part of what's so aggravating about mean people. The line between second-class and first-class jerk is fine, like the Sharpie. It's very easy to cross the line and go from being a second-class jerk and caring when you're mean to being a first-class jerk and not caring. Raise your hand if you've ever done anything mean to anyone, little or big. Yeah, my hand is up. And so I'm sure all of you are thinking, Kat's a hypocrite. She's up there giving a speech on how much she hates mean people and she's done mean things. And you're right, I have done mean things. And no, I'm not perfect. I can be a real bitch most of the time. I'm abrasive, rude, prickly like a cactus, and that's on a good day for my born 3 sizes too small heart. I don't like a lot of people. I don't pretend to like a lot of people. But contrary to popular belief, I'm not heartless. I'm not emotionless. I often feel way too much, and I always feel bad after I'm mean, and I always apologize, usually too much, and I always feel really bad and try to make it right. I'm a second-class jerk. It could be really easy for me to become a first-class jerk, though. It could be really easy for me or anyone else to forget remorse and forget to feel bad. It could be really easy to forget that we're all humans fighting for the same things in life, and we all deserve the same. And we let bad things happen when we forget that. How do you think the world has gotten to where it is? People are starving to death in foreign countries, but the major corporations, businesses, and people who have the means to rectify it and get food to them only donate 0.33% of every 50-odd cents that middle-class Americans chance to donate into those little plastic bottles next to the checkout register at your local convenience store. Women are subject to sex slavery, rape, and sexual abuse because media and mass productions let the image that women are objects to be owned instead of real living people continue. The people in charge of TV production and magazine publication don't care what women want. They give the fat cat rich businessmen what they want and let the patriarchal patagram remain unsubverted and let women continue to suffer because of it. And it's not even on such a large scale either. Teenagers play the my problem is bigger than yours game and forget that others are hurting too and continually try to put them down and make them feel like their problems don't matter, when in reality they do. And in the adult world, adults do exactly the same. They tell people who suffer from diseases like anxiety or depression that because there aren't physical detrimental effects, their diseases aren't that bad and they aren't an issue. When in fact, diseases like depression can be just as detrimental as a cancerous disease to an individual. But people don't act like that. People act like by putting in the minimum effort, they're doing all they can. People don't care enough, and that's mean. If we personally were starving, we would fight to rectify that. We would fight hands down and probably kick, punch, and scream until we got food from someone else. But we can't try to help our fellow humans who are starving. We can't help them get fed. Because people think so little about anything but themselves and what they want and what directly benefits and affects them that they hurt the people around them. They meanly hurt the people around them. People aren't meant to be disposable, and yet we act like they often can and even should be. Some people are just trying to live their lives and exist. But other people have to viciously step in and almost make it their mission to keep them from just surviving. And so it's so easy to go from being a second-class jerk to being a first in doing that. It is so easy to stop caring. People are stuck in what they believe and never allow themselves to consider other facets, whether they should help more, care more, try more. People never try as hard as they should to give allowance to other people's humanity and be human themselves. In every country, some people put themselves on pedestals atop the rest of humanity, and they act, for some reason or another, that they are fighting for either more or something more worthy than their fellow human beings. We oppress each other. From the time all people are born, we're endowed with 3 inalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This thought is commonly attributed as a social practice unique to the United States, because we have the Declaration of Independence, the document that says so, when in fact, all people are endowed with these rights from the time they are born. While there are many nations under authoritarian, monarchist, theocratic, and uncivil governments who readily suppress all of these rights and many more to their people, if one collective group of people should be endowed to live, have liberty, and pursue happiness, why shouldn't the rest of the world? Just because they have mean leaders oppressing them, should they deserve any less because we don't have mean leaders oppressing us? We all want to get out the most of life we can. But people, mean people, have to crush their fellow South Africans or Chinese or Estonians or Russians or whatever nation they live in and keep them from having a decent quality of life. People are cruel. We're all humans across the earth, and we are ultimately, in one way or another, aiming to achieve the same things in life. But hardly anyone realizes or acts like that. And that pisses me off. People in the same country can't even make allowances for each other, let alone for people in different countries doing so. People across the globe lose their remorse for their fellow man, grow caught up in themselves, and cross the line between a second-class jerk and a first-class jerk. They become first-class jerks to their very core, the living definition of mean people. And the world doesn't need that. The world doesn't need people acting like that. There are enough problems which, if my examples didn't outline, could be easily rectified or at the very least avoided if we didn't dispose of each other and we actually cared. We're all better off without first-class jerks like a father who looks at his 4 children, treats his son like an equal, and molests his oldest and youngest daughter. Or a mother who dedicates all of her time to taking care of her oldest and youngest daughter because they've been damaged, and overlooks her middle daughter because her other 2 have had their innocence cruelly destroyed by their mean father, and that middle daughter was not damaged. But when in fact the damage done to that middle daughter is invisible because she's always been overlooked by the people who are supposed to look out for her and care for her. That middle daughter only hears "I love you" twice a month from that man that she only sees because the court ordered that a bad influence is better than no influence. And that doesn't mean a thing. She has a traditional American child-parent relationship while her sisters are coddled and given infinite freedom to try and make up for their past hurt, while that middle daughter continues to hurt. Because like a real jerk, her father never tried to be her father. He was mean in everything he did and didn't do. And her mother is just as bad almost, consistently neglecting her middle daughter and putting the other 2 first 100% of the time. That girl has no one looking in the window of her life and saying, "That's not right. He's mean and doesn't deserve to see you. Ever. You're better off without him. And she's mean because she needs to be your mother too, and stop giving preference to your sisters. You're being damaged just as much as they are in a way. You shouldn't have to hurt so much and deal with it all on your own. Your sister shouldn't get the world and you get a small room with a turtle and no one looking out for you." But the world doesn't see that. We get all too caught up in the vicious cycle of meanness that we don't see the problems before they happen, which is how our world has gotten so bad. First-class jerks got to where they are because the process of not caring is gradual, and it starts here, before the problem really gets bad. But first-class jerks don't think like that. Mean people don't think like that. They don't realize that or point that out. They let girls like her continue to struggle and suffer, feeling like they're worthless because no one is choosing to love them, except a barely legal high school senior who's hardly stable enough for herself, let alone for a 16-year-old girl who thinks she's perfect when the rest of the world sees right to her flaws and can very plainly point out that she's not perfect. But that girl loves that senior unconditionally because she is the only person looking out for her. And if more people were like that girl, the world would be a better place. Because love counteracts the cycle. If more people could freely give their love, meanness could be counteracted and the world could be salvaged. Our current state of affairs could be bettered. I'd like to think that if everyone loved each other a little more as human beings, and remember that regardless of everything, we all want the same quality of life, the world could be a better place. Because of girls like that, I believe that. I personally love everyone. My loyalty people have to earn, but my love I give freely. Not passionately, I don't go making out with every person I see. That would be weird. But I love my fellow people, regardless of what background or walk of life they are from, simply because they've lived and deserve the benefit of the doubt that they are a good person. They can screw up, do horrible things, and even be horrible people at times. But with a little love, that can change. They can cross back between first and second and become remorseful, decent people majority of the time, even though they occasionally can do bad. Love is powerful, and it can change lives, and I believe that wholly. And so yes, this means that even my jerk father, who abandoned me when I was a baby, and thinks he is God incarnate still with his perfect wife, is loved. And even my stepfather, who abandoned me just last August, and looked at me after 17 years of raising me into the person I am before you, looked me in the eye and said, "You're not my biological kid, so you don't matter anymore." And even my ex-best friend, who was my first friend when I moved here, and the only person who would talk to me for so long, and who helped me break out of the shell I carefully constructed around myself, and helped me become the person who can freely talk to people and not hide in Mr. Kane's room at lunch and read instead of communicating with others. Even after they got involved in the divorce battle with my parents and blamed me for everything and tried to destroy my life, even after I almost took my own life, I still love them with all my heart. And I wouldn't wish any bad on any of them, and I wouldn't wish any ill will whatsoever. Because love breaks the cycle, and first-class jerks don't deserve meanness in return. Because then, I'll become a first-class jerk too. However, the fact that I'm standing here giving this speech means that hardly anyone thinks like this. Hardly anyone cares how everyone treats each other, and hardly anyone cares that we're all too mean to each other. They really should too. This world needs a lot more love and a lot less meanness and paperwork. Because that's the human thing to do. Forgive. But first-class jerks don't do that. First-class jerks let people feel that worthless, so worthless that they need to end it. They let situations arise that could have easily been avoided if they could have looked at it from the start with just a little love. They bully and they destroy people. Mean people, in layman's terms, let things get that bad. Mean people think that their life, and what they want out of it is so much more important than other people's that they have to crush other people down whilst believing that. They can't ever think, hey, I'm being really mean. Maybe I should stop. And that drives me crazy. It makes me madder than anything else that humanity is so incredibly horrible to each other. It only exacerbates it when we acknowledge the problems, but we do a half-crap job of trying to rectify them. People piss me off. I don't even care that I'm swearing because that's the bottom line truth to it. First-class jerk mean people make me madder than anything. And in my anger, I just want to scream at them and try to make them see that they need to stop and think and feel and figure out what they're doing before it's too late and they are forever just a little fish in a big pond. And like antiques that have been pawned, one day their light will fade and they'll forever remain in the shade until someone chances to try to figure out the truth behind their lies and give them a second chance to live. But some gifts are impossible to give. and until they start to pay attention and listen as people like me scream, all they'll ever be is me.